Oh boy, this video is going to make me lose just about half of my audience. I have a bit of an open secret that I've been keeping online for a while now, simply due to shame. The fact is that my appearance does not necessarily align with how I would like to appear, and just about every time I'm reminded of that fact, I feel so much guilt and shame that I would rather leave this quiet part not spoken aloud, but as all quiet parts tend to go, eventually they have to be heard. And the truth is that Star is in fact a tran. If you've been on my channel for long enough, you might know this, not just because of the hints that I've left in a lot of my videos over time of talking about wanting to be a girl when I was younger, or just talking about wanting to be feminine, talking about wanting to be a girl in general, hinting at it in various ways. You may have picked up on those things, but if you've seen my videos from like 2018, for example, I pretty openly state that I am trans in those videos. For context, I was 16 in a number of those videos, 15 in the earlier part of the year before April hit, and that's when I originally came out, was when I was 15 years old. Is that I had been reading a lot on the internet sort of about gender dysphoria and talking to a lot of trans people because I didn't know what it was before talking to trans friends. And as I was talking to those friends who I had met just organically through the anime community, I realized that I related to a shit ton of what they were saying, and that I had been relating to it since I was very young. The earliest that I can remember having these sorts of feelings when I was about 6 years old, I had asked my mother for feminine toys. I wanted like a baby doll, and I explicitly told her that I wanted to be a mother. She was very surprised by this, and the reaction from my brother at the time was to literally beat me. I got literally beaten. There was attempted suffocation and a number of other things around this time, just for exerting an interest in the idea of being more feminine or having an interest in the idea of being a girl. When I was young, I had very long hair. I looked like a girl. Everyone around me thought I looked like a girl. I was often mistaken for one in public, and I really liked this. It was only because of my brother and other abuse that I had received from other family members that I had grown to become very uncomfortable with this internal feeling that I had at points, again, like I had mentioned to my mother. I didn't even remember that I had mentioned these things to my mother at the time, but she had a couple years later brought it up to me that I had mentioned these things to her. So it wasn't always internal. You know, sometimes I would just outright say it before I had that horrible experience of being treated that way. I've had these feelings for a long time. I remember specifically when I hit puberty, I was very, very upset because I had seen myself growing hair and starting to develop these masculine traits that were further and further away from the ideal that I had wanted to be. And as time had gone on, I had no idea what these feelings were. I didn't know why I wanted to be the opposite gender. I just knew that that was a feeling that I had had for years of my life up to that point. And when it finally came up from these trans friends that, like, the symptoms of dysphoria could very well be a thing that I had, it was at that point 3 years ago that I just said, screw it, I'm trans, you know, that this is the person who I am, when I've wanted to be this thing for so long. Well, 3 years later, and those feelings are still very much here. I've tried to suppress them as much as humanly possible, and it simply hasn't worked. It's only made me feel worse the more and more that I try to act like these feelings don't exist. I mean, I made a joke in the beginning of this video about how I was going to lose half of my audience, but that's how I felt for the longest time, is that if I talk about this in any way or insinuate it in more direct form, then, you know, a lot of people are going to be mad. I'm going to have the exact same experiences I've had for my whole life of people not accepting the person who I would like to be. But at the end of the day, that's my choice. It's no one else's. If you think, trans people on the internet are like a funny meme or something, at the end of the day, it's the person's choice. It doesn't fundamentally change any perception of me that you've had up to this point. Those are still elements of my personality. It's just the physical change that I would like to undergo as the person who I would like to be. Why is that such a bad thing? And I fail to understand this time and time again. Like, for my whole life, I've been not accepted for having these feelings. I've been treated like shit for having these feelings. Why? Why is that such a bad thing? And it was what finally broke the nail in the coffin was when I saw Digi tweet that they were going to become AnyTube's sister, that they were going femme. I had to think, if Digi can do it, I can do it. I don't know exactly how femme Digi is going to become, but if that's what's going on here, then I have absolutely no excuse not to be upfront with you at this point about the fact that I am, yes, a trans person, and I have been for a very long time. If you go back through my videos, you'll see that's the case. This was incredibly awkward and difficult to record, and I just wanted to get out the feeling as it exists right now, and will expand on more of the details in my art as time goes on. But I feel like I just needed to get this off of my chest. I need the truth to be known. And I'm also, like, shaking a lot as I make this video. Dear God, I'm so scared. Cheers.